Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm Wibbert and this is gonna be one of my builds. For this episode I installed some grand railway stations or I don't really know what people normally call them. I thought I'd do a bit of an intro with like a slideshow, but I think it's a little bit cinematic. So I installed some railway stations, so let's just take a look at what they look like. I assume that they shouldn't get too derped by how sloped this is at the moment. So this is one of them. I just recently made a bit of a spreadsheet of them, so I could keep track of the dependencies and, well, not the dependencies actually, just to keep track of which, okay. So they vary in size a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty impressive though. And then there's this central station. So basically, I've just been looking. Maybe this is less of a central station if you compare it to these other ones. And this is just to compare them and what they look like in game, because the screenshots don't always do them justice. Sometimes you just have a super blocky screenshot. And here's one from my favorite author, Matt325B. And this is probably the one I'm gonna use for mainly the reason that I just think it looks so great with the... For those of you who don't know, these colors, they are pretty realistic, because when you have like, I believe it's copper or bronze, I believe both of them have this green, it's green corrosion, so it happens when you have like copper plating, and it looks like it's gold. It's like, I don't know how you call those in English. I'm sorry. Gold plating is probably not the word, but they're like okay. So it's copper plating with a structural shape to them, though they're not structural, of course. They're just purely to keep the people dry underneath and to give it a nice little look. And I like this brick. It looks so crisp on the screenshots, and if I look here, yeah, maybe if you zoom all the way in, it's a bit too close and you can see some pixelations. And there's some seams here, but that's actually realistic, because it would be unlikely to have like pieces of plating that would go all the way up there. So it's quite likely that you would have some seams in the structure like that. Although of course here it is due to the texture, it seems to me. And I'm not sure it's completely realistic, because probably you'd only, if I look at this, I would estimate this is like 25 meters long or something like that, and you wouldn't have like plates of 10 meters. Well, maybe you would, I don't know. And this is like the entrance. I'm just gonna show this one off first. So this is what it looks like in the daytime. I showed this angle. I haven't shown this angle, so it has like a... That's also... This is probably the best shot you could get of it, because you get this nice... So it does kind of demand that you put roads in a corner like that. But I'm fine with adjusting my city to the station. And here there's some windows with some pre-rendered glass reflections. And of course there's the rails. These rails look different than the normal rails, and they even look different from the network adder mod rails. I've linked to those to where you can get these rails a couple of times. I might look it up again. but that's this station. Maybe it's unfair to a station like this to compare it to a big one like that, but I don't know. I think I picked these stations because they all kind of fitted the bill, at least for me, in terms of what a central station would look like. And I wanted a terminal station because over here we had this okay, yeah, I now realize this is comically undersized, and I might just have to find a better spot for that, or maybe just put it over here or something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to find a solution for that, and the solution is probably that this is just gonna be not the main station. I might use this one over there, and then use one of these, probably this one, like near the shore, where maybe a bit of a, not really a harbor, but maybe, I don't know. Not sure yet. I'm planning to build at least 2 stations this episode though. Okay, let's look at this one. Well, I started talking about this one. This is Langstrath Central Station. I think it's a German station based design, though it looks, yeah, it's a mix of pretty classical roof over here, but then the brickwork, yeah, it can also be interpreted as pretty classical. I would estimate that it would be from early 19th century if I look at the small sub windows, or what you'd call them. Grand North Eastern Railway, so that suggests that it's in Britain maybe, but Langstrath doesn't sound very British to me, so I don't know, maybe it's a mix of things. I don't really mind it being a mix of things if it is. Yeah, I like this pattern. That's pretty Art Deco-ish, I think, to have this kind of pattern. That's not strictly Art Deco. Yeah, the shape of the roof does suggest that this used to be used with steam trains because of the extra little bit of roof for the smoke to escape with the openings on the side. So yeah, it does suggest early 19th century then, and of course it's been renovated a bit with these concrete, I can't remember, platforms, concrete platforms, and it does have some parking space over there, so I suppose the idea is to have roads on at least 2 sides. It's oh, it isn't a complete terminal station, it's a partial terminal station, and there's also a pass-through track. Okay. Then over here we have a bit more of a modern, well, it's also a mix of, well, this is a mix of modern and classical. I suppose this is something in London or somewhere in Great Britain. I'm not British, so I wouldn't know Great Central Railway. So, and apparently this is like the office for the Great Central Railway that is incorporated into the station. We do have something similar in the Netherlands as well, where like the office for the Dutch train. Yeah, I don't know. It's not an easy to translate name, but the Dutch train company, I guess. It has an office next to a big station in Utrecht, which is near where I live. And I've lived in Utrecht for a bunch of years. It's a very nice city. A lot of classical architecture, and yeah, also some modern architecture these days. Though the opinions are very divided on if it looks good or not. I think the new station looks absolutely stunning though. Yeah, and let's talk about the stations in the game that I'm looking at. Yeah, I think this has a lot of very fun little things to it. It looks pretty cool. The roofing. Yeah, it's not even symmetrical, which I like. Or maybe it is. Yeah, I think it is symmetrical to some degree. And the detail of these little ladders across the roof for people cleaning the roof or just replacing panels that got broken during a storm or something like that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So, if you look at this structure, this is a very metal heavy structure, and it's a visible structure. So that suggests that this part of the station would have been a bit older than these modern or more modern. This looks absolutely modern. This could still be like 70s, 80s, 60s maybe even. And this looks maybe the least modern of all the bits. So this is probably the first part of the station building. And then I guess they might have made an extension here on the lower floors. Yeah, so it looks like the lower floors were already there and then they built these things on top. This one, I would guess, is a little earlier than this one. I sound like an antique roadshow person or something. But whatever. So if you look at these structures, there's a large amount of metal in them, which kind of means that it's probably from a time when metal was like the best thing to use for these kind of stations. I think these days concrete is a bit more popular because there have been a lot of innovations, although for roof structures metal is still quite popular, I think. Though these kind of structures you don't see them anymore because there's like a if you look at it up close, you can see these arches. There's a lot of manual labor involved in creating these arches, and then there's these let's call them struts. I don't really know what the word is. Well, let's call these the beams and let's call those the struts. Every one of those would need to be either welded or ribboned to the rest of the structure, so that's a lot of manual labor that needs to be done. And then there's also the angles, which requires somebody to really pay attention to what they're doing on those kind of points. You don't see that anymore. Well, I guess it might come back or whatever, but these days people tend to be more efficient about the man hour that they spend on these kind of projects. So they tend to just use a big I-beam, which is like if you cut the beam into it, looks like a big eye. There's also the thing that's called an H-beam, which looks like an H, and then yeah, so that's a bit broader than an I-beam. There's different things that I-beams and H-beams are good for. I-beams are generally good for just vertical forces, so for roofs and stuff like that, and H-beams are also handy for when you need to like place some prefabbed concrete in between the beams. Then you can use an H-beam because it has a bit of a better flank, and yeah, it having bigger flanks or flanges, I guess it's called a flange. So the flanges, so in a beam, yeah, it's kind of hard to illustrate, but let's say let's just do something like this, right? Let's say you have a beam like this. So these are the flanges. They are just to support this thing. This is where the main carrying capacity comes from. And well, that's actually not true. No. It's the other way around. So let's say this is a beam across. These tend to be of a thicker metal than this one. And the reason why there's no material here is because it's more efficient to be when you're applying pressure along like a line. So let's say you apply pressure here, this wants to bend, so the top side wants to shrink and the bottom side wants to stretch, but the middle doesn't do all that much. So it's more efficient to put more material on the top and bottom side, and this middle part is just to connect them and to transfer the forces to some degree. But if you make this design too long and slim, then it starts to have other problems where it can yeah, it's kind of hard to find the English word sometimes, but it can like break because of sideways pressure. Well, it's not really sideways pressure, but at some point, yeah, I guess the word is buckle. At some point they buckle. I used to know these things quite well, and then I stopped my studies, and now it's been a couple of years. So yeah, if you look at this structure, a lot of manual labor. So this structure means that it's most likely done by hand, and thus it must be a bunch older. And it also suggests those things. By the way, these lower floors differ from like the office floors. So there's a historical part to that, and there's been some renovations, and whether those are good renovations or not, I think when it's renovations like this, it looks weird compared to the the classical nature the old station had, or nature, the feel. It had a very static, I don't know, it had a bit of a royal feel or something like that. And this just looks like a mass-produced, yeah, window facade. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of these kind of office buildings, and there's actually it's like a system for how they used to design these. All the measurements were pretty much standardized, so that the concrete panels that they use to make the floors and stuff like that can be prefabbed and mass produced. So it's a very efficient way of constructing offices. Though if you look at this, there is this little rounding part of the office, and that might just be necessary due to structural reasons, though I do think it's mainly an aesthetic reason. Of course, this pillar here is probably structural, but this is mostly aesthetic reasons, because it's pretty expensive to then, yeah, maybe they poured these concrete floors, because I'm just guessing that they're concrete. It looks like they would be concrete in a situation like this. They might have just poured those floors on site, although I don't know if you'd use concrete, because concrete is very heavy, right, compared to just a metal structure and maybe a wooden panel structure for the floors. Yeah, you could make those pretty soundproof too. Yeah, and when you're building on top of an old site that already has foundations and stuff, well, it depends on, I guess, on where you're building, because in the Netherlands we are used to building on pretty soft soil, so we have to always take into account the fact that buildings can like sink. They don't always sink, because we have like techniques for preventing the amount they sink, but we also have like calculations to, because then you what a structural engineer does in at least yeah, for buildings, a structural engineer, a part of what he has to do is calculate how heavy the building is where. So he makes models based on the building structure, and he applies the weights of the materials that are then gonna be in the building, and then he makes well, he calculates where he wants his foundation to use what we call heipalen. I think it's just, I'm not sure what the foundation poles, let's just call them that. They are big concrete poles, sometimes, yeah, sometimes like 50 meters long or something, I don't know. I think normal sizes are like 10 to 25 or 30 meters. They go pretty deep into the ground, and the idea behind them is that the sides of them, because a lot of the ground in the Netherlands is clay ground, and clay ground is pretty sturdy, but over time it's still quite fluid, so it's like syrup. It just slowly deforms over time. But if you put these poles in there, then you give a lot more structure to the general ground underneath it, so you reduce the amount of flow that would happen, but you also touch a lot more different ground layers, and not all of them are gonna be clay and stuff. So the idea generally is to find out how deep the sand layers are, which are a lot sturdier and a lot less liquidy, and to just make sure the poles hit that deep. And then where you want the poles to be is actually calculated based on like the weights. So for instance, this building has probably a lot more weight on this side than this side, so you'd see a lot more structural reinforcement in the foundation, and also just in the base structure, I guess. You can also see that this whole bit, it does not have this this white paneling, though the white paneling might not even be something that would be heavy, although it looks like it would be maybe a metal type, but it might just be aluminum, whichever pronunciation you prefer. Yeah, this looks like a lot more of a basic office tower. So that it might just be for storage purposes or whatever, or just administration, I don't know. Okay, pretty cool, this combination of like a couple of buildings. I'm not sure, but I believe this one also had some jobs in it. Maybe they all do, I don't know actually. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. Although it's a bit more modern than I would want to put in this town. Although I do have a bunch of like pretty modern kind of buildings. But though this is more of a Gothic architecture style. I guess this is a bit of a Japanese architecture style or something like that. It's not something... It might be a bit of a Eastern European style from the Soviet days. I don't know. This is a lot more Gothic and American style, I would say. Because it might be from Prague or something like that, I don't know. Yeah, it's a more Central European style, I guess. Although that also, those styles, of course, aren't really fixed to one location, because an architect in China can just get inspired by buildings from Africa or whatever. So it's not like a style is really... It's not like they make appointments on who builds what style or whatever. It's just who inspires who and gets inspired by who. So this is another bit of a classical building. You can see the metal structure here that indicates that this is a lot of handwork for the metal structure at least. And there's this little thing here, which would suggest to me that this... Yeah, that seems to me like that would weaken the roof quite a bit, to have like these two extra bends. But of course they needed to let out the air for the steam trains, so this is probably also from a time when they used a lot of steam trains. And I do like the muckiness of the roof a lot. This, yeah, maybe Central European this. I don't know, Central Station might just be Britain. Let's look at the name. I'll link all of these stations. Okay, it just says Central Station, so we still don't know much. I'll link all of these in the description. For now I'll build these two. This city and this general... Although, let's look at this. I'm just gonna give it a minute and think about what I would want to see. I think the big ones are just a little bit too big, and this is a bit more cozy and cutesy. And this whole region is not really about making giant big cities, so I think I'll take this one. It also doesn't have like 10 tracks or whatever. Let's count the tracks for a second. And as I zoom in, I get scared of crashes, although I didn't really build anything. I think I counted 8. Yeah, it looks like 8. This is also 8. And that's just a bit too big, because this region only has 4 tiles that are really gonna be a city, of which this is 5 tracks. That's a lot better. Of which, yeah, not every one of them is connected to everyone, so I do have 2 tracks here. One of them is more of a connection to the world kind of track, because there's no city here, and I'm not really planning to develop the tile that is there, if there is even a tile there. I can't really remember how the small tiles were divided among along the map. And this is the rail line that's going to the neighboring city with the big red bridge. So I think this actually makes sense to merge these two in and have a pass-through track, though if I build this like on this spot, then the track would have to like go over there somehow. Don't know what the spacing over here looks like. Let's turn on the grid for a second. Yeah, I kind of want to keep this rough edge though, so I'm probably not gonna do that over there in that way, but I might maybe make it go in that direction or something like that. Although this thing is, these hills are super steep too. I really need to think about this. Well, yeah, I hope you like this little overview of the stations. This is something I wanted to do, a bit of a mod showcase. Oh, you can use if you feel so inclined, you could build these things to flatten the ground, I guess. Yeah, I just lost all this sweet randomness over here, but whatever. Let's not worry about it too much. This station, I do want this corner to be like facing towards the lake. I think I want it around over there. Though maybe I want it set back a bit, have a bunch of roads, a bit of plaza stuff and all that, and have a bit of a central business kind of region, well, area. I'm not sure. I'll do this one later, and that one I want to build somewhere over here. At what height are these? These are like a lot lower than this general thing. Let me just see. I just want to see. So let's say I do something like that and flatten this area out. I think it's 5 wide, I can't really remember. Okay. For some reason that doesn't want to do a thing. Okay. Okay, let's just flatten this for a little while. And by little while, I don't mean in terms of time, but in terms of area. So I made these steep slopes here. The thing is, if you then can't. I think it was. Yeah, I can do it when it's like that. Okay, so maybe they were just too close together or something. We have a bit of an area for a station. I might just continue this maybe a bit. I don't know, I don't want to derp out the start too much. So we're looking for, because I really like that one. It wasn't Central Station. Yeah, it was Langstraat Station. And this is the multi-track entrance, and the other side is like the multi-track, the single-track exit, I think. I think I'm just gonna put it like that, and then we'll figure things out. Or not. Sometimes you can't figure it out. So there's 3 tracks here. So I think it's alright to turn 2 tracks into 3 in a station setting. Okay, let's just try to make some bends here. Maybe. I can already see this getting super awkward, to be honest. Can I just merge? If I like do a straight one over here, can I just merge this one in? And suitable grade. What I could maybe do is make this a bit straighter. I'm not really sure. Ooh, that's pretty close, isn't it? Does that want to do it? Oh. Well, this height difference is just ginormous. Let me see what's going on with the heights over here. I thought this was a lot closer. I think what I'm gonna do is delete this thing and see what it looks like when I drag it from the other side, because it's gonna want to go down, I think, though I don't know. Ooh. Wait. Oh, that's along a different line too. So I kind of need to do something. Maybe if I delete that one. I do like this song. Okay. So rails still seem pretty derpy. Though it's partially my fault. At least partially. Can I just... Wait, is this a... I could just change this one, right? I mean, this doesn't have to turn over there, it could be one earlier. Why does it do a steep thing? What? Okay. It misinterpreted what I wanted. That's for sure. Yeah, I try to make this bend happen. It's still on the wrong. What? Let me just delete that then and see if that works. That is the right direction. Let's just do it like that maybe. Is that the... yeah. How is this so mega steep? It normally doesn't want to do that. Okay, I think then maybe I'll try to just do something there. Yeah. Yeah, that is mega steep. Weird. Game, why you have to be weird? So let's make this maybe as a bit of an anchor. Does it really does want to go into the earth by a steep degree. And I do not like it when it does that. Let's just see what happens now. It's a bit better. It's still pretty bad. Though, I don't know. It looks kind of cool, I guess. So let's just figure out how to get this rail on the right height. And I think the answer is to just... start dragging some rails. Yeah, so this one's stopping that from being placed. The height difference isn't that much anymore over here. Yeah, it worked in the end. Alright. And just like that, I almost crashed the game. Yeah, so I think this makes sense. Maybe even adding this one to it. Does that work? Could that work? Would that work? Let's see. Let's see what it might or might not look like if it works. Doesn't work. Okay. Let's just build something here. And maybe not have this go into the ground like that. I don't know. This was going here, right? I suppose that they both used to be a bunch lower. Okay. Okay, I can't do this bend because there's like angles going on there. So I need to do it one earlier. And then we go. I think I do want to continue this like that and then do a bit of a straight bit. Of course, the grade is unsuitable. Wow, won't even do that. But if I delete this one, maybe that would be weird, wouldn't it? The game is weird sometimes. Life is weird. I think there was a game at some point. Life is Strange. Life is Strange was the game. It's a bit of a... I don't know how you'd best describe it, but people call it an emo game, I guess. Because it was a bit dark maybe, or maybe just because it was all about feelings and stuff, and people like to make fun of feelings. I don't know. Alright, building me some tracks, and it's working swell. So let's just make a bend here first, and then try to do... okay. Guess I just place a bit of straight rail. What? Oh, it's touching. You don't want to be touchy. You can touch. You can touch it. Yeah, so those are touching. I just hope I can do this and don't have to redo the whole... okay. Ooh, I don't like that. Okay, it's being weird. Yeah, this is just the same thing, right? So how could I fix that? By maybe deleting this for a bit, so it doesn't touch over there, and then trying to do something over here maybe. Wait, why is this a thing? That looks pretty cool, but can it connect back without derping too much? Huh. Alright. Wow, that's close, isn't it? That's mega close to being functional. It's not touching, so why? Maybe it's just one too far. On that side? No. Oh, maybe just the height difference. So let's just delete this and try to make that corner from the other side. Don't know what's going on here though. So that's... yeah. Okay. So it just is a bit too low over there, but this is a lot higher, so if I just connect it, I might have to do a bit of minor terraforming. But maybe this already works. Okay. Minor terraforming ahead. Let's just, because it's all rails, so you can just, okay. Yeah, okay. And just like that, we built our first little station. Yeah, you might have noticed, if you have been watching these videos for a while, that this is still a pretty boring looking city. And next episode I'll do a bunch of decorations. I'm not sure what yet. If you have some special decoration mods or anything, feel free to let me know in the comments. Though most of you don't feel like commenting most of the time, which is perfectly fine. it's all good. Yeah, so over here I'm just gonna make some space for the Chicago style station, and I do know which direction I want it to face. I'm not sure if it's realistic to have it that low. So the idea was to have a bit of a boulevard, so I'll keep like this area for roads and stuff. And let's just plop it down and see if it works without me having to do all the terraforming by hand. Here we go, and rotate. Oh, it was the right direction initially. Okay, that's not what I wanted, so I have to actually terraform this, which is fine. It's fine to terraform. It's okay to terraform. But at least it gives me an idea of how far I need to go with it. Well, how far? Yeah, how far I need to go with the terraforming, which is right about there. And you do want a corner. I'm telling you, you want a corner. No, I want a corner. We all want a corner. Alright, sorry about that. I'm a bit weird, if you hadn't noticed yet. And yay. So what happened on the first attempt is that it used a different height as its base for some reason, which caused all these to have like straight walls along there. And I didn't want that, so I had to redo it. Don't know how this is gonna connect yet. Apparently there's a track gonna be coming in from there. I think I'll do like a bunch of tracks going in here and one connecting maybe somewhere over there or something. Oh, there's a pretty steep bunch of mountains over there. Not sure yet. But for now I think this is gonna be the episode. Let me look at the clock. Yeah, this is gonna be the episode. I want to thank you all for watching. But before I'm gonna close this, of course, I'm gonna have to show this. Well, I didn't show all the stations. Okay. I'm not gone yet. Because I forgot something. Because these stations might have night lights. And by night lights I mean night lights. Okay, I still have that one over there. And because this game is so realistic, you actually need to make sure that you have, I think this one was over there, right? Let's just build it over there, and from this side you can then see the night lights. And yeah, this is the other, no, I'm just clicking the same thing again. Yeah, it was called Central Station because of great names. Okay. So, and for night lights you need power, so, wait, this doesn't give a power over, okay. That's just weird. Really? Okay, that's a bit of an oversight on the creators of the game, that you don't get a bit of a power overlay. Yeah, let me just do this for now. And we have that. Okay, so I'm gonna go into night mode. Night mode. Champion of the day mode. And let's look at some of these buildings. I guess I might as well just show all the angles. This looks like there's like some specific lights to light up the top of the tower. Which they do have those kind of things in real life, so I don't think it's a render error, although if you look at it from, yeah, no, yeah, it does seem to make sense. So Chicago one, great stuff, great stuff. They have the little groobles in the windows and stuff. As we know, Met 32.5B, Met B 325 likes to do. Great work, Matt. If you're watching, I appreciate all of the stuff you've made. Keep arting it up. Okay, here we have Central Station with some big colorful letters. Yeah, it has night lights and it looks pretty cool. I think this is a pretty cool building to have in a big city. It needs a bit more of an area around it, of course. Maybe just a big park in front of it, mixed in with then right in front of it some tram lines and stuff like that would be realistic in my opinion. Though I haven't been to that many ginormous cities with big central stations. This one appears to be missing all kinds of night lights. It's just the street lights. So that steers me away from this a bit. I might have just installed it wrong or done something wrong, but I kinda don't think so. Sometimes not all buildings always show up with night lights, by the way. So that might also be a factor. So, let me just zoom. So, what did I do this episode? Save, I meant. What did I do this episode? Well, this episode I built a station. And, yeah. Well, I mainly just explored the different stations that I found. And this is it's a game with a lot of mods, but it's not like there's a million people making mods for this game. So the odds of you finding well, there's still like Japanese or Portuguese sites that I don't really understand enough to feel comfortable browsing them, and so there might still be content out there that I missed, but I think this was a bit of a top 4 of central terminal kind of stations, though they weren't all terminal. I did want a terminal station, so that limited the stations that I could find. I think it's not, yeah, I think these were all very good, and that's why I showed them. And I was pretty sure that I was gonna use the Chicago one, but yeah, sometimes you have to see them in game. Links in the description for these things. Feel free to leave a comment or whatever on their pages. They will like to see that people are still interested in their stuff. Yeah, it doesn't look like these have night lights, so that's maybe you don't care, though I do like to have some nighttime screenshots from every now and again. If you look at these fountains, they're just so glorious. I don't know, it looks, maybe this whole system was a bit weird and it caused some weird looking things, but I think with a bunch of decorations, which I'm gonna do next episode, I think this might look cool. And the first train is off to the races. It's a train.